Now, every year at Congregation, UBC has the honor of bestowing honorary degrees upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university community, have fit the criteria of excellence and eminence in their chosen field. Dr. David H. Turpin is one of those individuals, and I invite him to step forward to receive his honorary degree. Dr. Turpin. Madam Chancellor, it's always with an extra measure of pride that we honor one of our own distinguished graduates. Dr. David H. Turpin received both his undergraduate degree and PhD from UBC, the latter at the age of 23. He then went on to lead internationally recognized research teams in oceanography and plant biochemistry and physiology. An award-winning teacher, David put his innate leadership skills to work as a senior academic leader at a number of Canada's most prestigious universities. This included serving as professor and head of the Department of Botany at UBC, Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Science at Queen's University, and Vice Principal Academic at Queen's. In 2000, he was appointed President and Vice Chancellor at the University of Victoria, a post he held for 13 years before being named President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Alberta. In these leadership positions, David played a major role in building partnerships between universities, governments, and the private sector, including the Pan-Canadian AI Initiative, Ocean Networks Canada, and the Pacific Institutes for Climate Solutions. He also worked with Indigenous leaders to build and support First Peoples houses at Queen's University, the University of Victoria, and the University of Alberta. Not surprisingly, his formal distinctions are many. He is a Thomson ISI highly cited researcher, a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada, a member of the Order of Canada, and has received honorary degrees from the University of Manitoba and the University of Alberta, and now it's our turn. Madam Chancellor, in recognition of his wide-ranging contributions to science, to academia, and indeed to our country, I ask you to confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon David H. Turpin.
By the authority of the Senate of the University of British Columbia, I confer upon you, David Howard Turpin, the title and degree, Doctor of Law, honoris causa.
Let me invite to the podium Dr. Turpin for his convocation address. Dr. Turpin.
Eminent Chancellor, Mr. President, graduands, and distinguished guests, I am truly honored to receive this recognition from my alma mater. The University of British Columbia gave me the skills I needed to succeed as a scientist, educator, and leader. Here I was challenged to excel, to be ambitious in what I attempted. Let me begin by thanking my nominators and the UBC Senate. I also want to thank my many colleagues, friends, and family for all their love and support. My 91-year-old mother, Marilyn, and my late father, Howard, deserve a special mention. I also owe a very special thank you to my wonderful wife, Shermithra Sanatani, along with Josh and Chantel. Graduates, to each of you, congratulations. I feel incredibly fortunate to share your special day. I can tell you that when I graduated with my UBC science degree, I never imagined becoming a university president. It's a job most people don't know much about. In fact, the very best description I have ever heard of the role came from my son, Josh. When he was 10 years old, a friend asked him, "What does a university president do?" And without missing a beat, Josh replied, "I really don't know, but if anything goes wrong, it's my dad's fault." Got that, didn't he, Benoit? Just nailed it. As a university president, I had the privilege of addressing many graduations. And I always felt that my job was to encourage each one of you to go out and to change the world. Lately, however, I wonder if that message lands as easily as it once did. We've come through a global pandemic. We've faced devastating impacts of climate change, multiple refugee crises, and increased political and cultural polarization. I expect that many of you, like me, are experiencing a great sense of uncertainty, a sense that the world is growing more insecure, provoked by threats to Canada and the global social and economic order. It is in times like these that I often go back to the heart of what I learned in my education. And that is, for every complex problem, there is often a simple solution. That is wrong. Instead, the truth often lies in that challenging gray area between black and white. I remind myself that I must continue to observe and to learn how to think through that gray area. As scientists, we are trained to observe and deduce, to hypothesize and to test. We learn to embrace and trust evidence. We want to know why things are the way they are. We set up experiments and observe what actually happens before coming to conclusions. Having these scientific skills is an extraordinary gift, or so I've found. From a very young age, I have been enthralled by the ocean, by its beauty, force, and mystery. I became a scuba diver and a sailor as a teenager, and spent as much time in and on the ocean as possible. As a student at UBC, I set out to answer a question I'd had since I was a young boy. One day, my dad really annoyed me by grabbing me off the beach when I was having fun. Why? Because of a phenomenon called a red tide. Why was it so dangerous, I wondered. I went looking for and found part of the answer 14 years later, working on my undergraduate thesis here at UBC. Science makes it possible for us to understand the natural world in ways we once thought unattainable. And it also creates technologies that make it possible for us to change our world in ways we thought unimaginable. But science on its own is not enough. There is always that pesky gray area that I mentioned earlier. As scientists, we seek answers, yet we must also remember that our actions have consequences, some intended and others not. In recent years, we have celebrated some of the greatest scientific and technological advances in human history. Think for a moment of the potential for benefit from the development of natural resources, genetic engineering, or artificial intelligence. Now, think for a moment of the potential for harm. Mahatma Gandhi listed science without humanity as one of the world's deadly social sins. He meant that science without regard for its impact on human beings can go very wrong. Gandhi is reminding us that respect for human dignity is absolutely critical. Throughout my career, sometimes through very hard lessons, I have learned to exercise empathy and good judgment along with my scientific skills. Empathy and good judgment that comes from developing historical, philosophical, and aesthetic judgment. Along with science, history helps us to understand where we have come from. Philosophy helps us to understand how we think and how to recognize and overcome our many biases. Literature and the arts help us to imaginatively inhabit and empathize with lives and experiences so very different from our own. Each of you came to this university, as I did so many years ago, to develop your talents and good judgment. These are what will help you navigate that murky gray area that defines so many of the great challenges of today. I urge you to use your talent with humanity and courage. Pay attention to how your actions affect others, and always act with integrity, with empathy, with kindness. Over time, you will discover in ways both large and small, in ways that will one day surprise you, that you really do have the power to go out and to change the world. Let me once again offer you my heartfelt congratulations, and I look forward with great anticipation to all your future accomplishments. Thank you and congratulations.